Shock of Gray tells the story of an unprecedented change, and that is the aging of the world's population. The median age around the world will climb from 29 today to 39 in 2050. It changes all your relationships to yourself, your family, your community, your workplace, your country, and geopolitically. It traces all of those changes and how they relate to you. The idea for Shock of Gray came from my travels in China. Anyone who goes to China knows that the cities are primarily young, the countryside is largely old, and I was interested in what drove the wedge between the young and old in China. And it turns out it was a global demographic change. As the world gets older, particularly the industrialized world, it has gone shopping for youthful labor wherever it can find it, and China was store number one. The biggest demographic pressure facing the world today is the shrinking of the size of the family. Virtually everywhere in the industrialized world, fertility rates are below replacement, and that's changed all of the supports we rely on in our life. If we turn to our family for aid when we're getting older, we will look around in the future, look for our family, and they simply won't be there because children will be too few, they may be too old themselves, and we will need to reshape all of our social relations to take care of this reality. It's also very important for business, though, because the demands of an aging population affect workers. Not only does it change the kind of workers you have in your workplace, it changes what you need to do for the workers you do have. They may have older relatives. They may be working long past retirement. The terms at which they work for you may change. They once have been your salaried employees or partners, and now they come back as contract employees. How do you keep that workforce sharp? How do you keep them happy? And how do you allow them the ability to take care of the people in their life who are on their watch? The demographic change around the world is front page news or beneath front page news in every major story in the world today. If you think about debt crises, that's a demographic story. If you think about healthcare crises, that's a demographic story. And I think one thing we all have to think about is how we will be each other's family. We live in a world in which government supports will inevitably shrink because they have to. There's not enough money in the world to keep all of the commitments we've made in the public sphere. And if the impulse is to turn back on the family and say, since time immemorial, people have relied on their families, it's a nice thing to say. But in an aging world, when you turn around in your 70s, 80s, or 90s, and you look for the children who will support you, they may simply just not be there because you didn't have them. They may be there in small number, or they may be old enough so that they need help for themselves. So the big challenge of an aging world is how do we create the society in which we are each other's family?